Yes, please.
I think one of the big challenges for teachers talking about the world of Islam to Americans is not to make it seem so strange and exotic and different. And I noticed you've made a lot of parallels between Islamic civilization and American civilization. Is there an American civilization world? Do you believe that there's an American civilization on a world scale? Do we live in a time of the hegemony of the American world civilization?
Well, I mean, yeah, you have American scholars, people like Kamanga's, what's his name again? He wrote the American Century, Steele, Kamanga Steele, I think that's his name. He's American historian. Kamanga Steele. I mean, they wrote about the American, thank you very much. I mean, they talk about the American century. There is an American civilization if you define civilization as a human enterprise which brings about a federation or confederation of cultures and people under one political roof. You see, then there is an American civilization because you have a core which originally was Anglo-Saxon, and people have been assimilated to speak the dominant language, English. And there is a religious core because all civilizations have a religious foundation. And in the American context, it has been described as the Judeo-Christian foundation of American civilization. Of course, because of the separation of church and state, that base is potentially expandable to embrace other religious groups. You see what I'm saying? And it's happening in American society. The problem for Americans, both the intellectuals and the leaders, is that they have yet to accept the fact that they are now becoming a distinct civilization from Europe. Because you see, many Americans don't want that because they don't want to see themselves as different from Europe, even though the cultural base is shifting and changing. This is what happened with civilization. All civilizations went through that. The Greeks started with their city-state. That's why you have what? Hellas. You have the original Greek city-states, and then you have Hellenization. Those people who are not Greeks, but they were exposed to Greek culture. The same thing happened with the Roman civilization. It started with Rome, but then other groups like Jews, Arabs, and Circassian, and all those people we call Albanians today, and all those different groups in the Mediterranean became Romanized. Egyptians, they begin to have Roman names. If you look at the founding fathers of Christianity, in Egypt, they were Egyptians, but they had Roman names. Aristasius, Arius. You see what I'm saying? So they became Romanized. The same thing is happening with American civilization. American civilization started with the 13 colonies, but then it expanded to embrace the whole continent and even cross the Pacific to embrace the Hawaiians. You see what I'm saying? And you have Spaniards like Puerto Ricans who are all part. And then you have the Virgin Islands where you have many people of African descent in addition to people of African descent in America. And then you have all these people from Asia who are now part of American civilization. What is happening is American intellectuals and American political leaders have yet to see to themselves, we are now moving away from the being extension of Europe, just like Australia or New Zealand is, extension of Europe, and now we are becoming our own. Now this process is more advanced in Australia because there are some Australian leaders who would like to move that way and say, we are now separate and distinct from England. But then you see, there are some who don't want that. When Keating, for example, in Australia, they call him the Lizard of Oz. Because, because he was trying to say that we are different from the English. You see, we have our separate identity. So you see, I mean, you have this phenomena. But see, this is what happened with civilizations. The original people, especially those who moved to the diaspora, and Americans are diaspora Europeans. They move out of Europe. Not all Americans, there are many others who are native people here, who are of Asian or African descent, who are here. But you see, the dominant group still see itself as an extension of Europe. And they're not willing to cut that umbilical tie, which happens with civilizations. It always happens with civilization. You start out from one point, and then you expand, and then you become stronger than the home base. And this is where American civilization, there is an American civilization. It is evident in American dress, it's evident in American speech, very early in terms of American breaking away from the English accent and English vocabulary, spelling labor in L-A-B-O-R as opposed to L-A-B-O-U-R, color and all that. These American lexicographers recognized the Americanization of the English language very early in the history of the Republic, in terms of the early lexicographers who developed American dictionaries. They were aware of this very early. And of course, you look at the kind of dictionaries, Webster and all the dictionaries that came out of America, showing that there is a distinct American English from English English. And you find this in Australia, you find this in New Zealand, and South Africa. This is the thing. There is, I would argue, that there is a definite American civilization, but the intellectuals and the politicians have yet to come to terms with that reality. It will take time. I think another century or so, it will become very evident, and they will acknowledge that we now have a distinct civilization called American, even though it originally started out as an Anglo-Saxon culture.